Hi, and welcome to CDW Tech Talks. We're doing a little bit of an interesting, different way now, where we're doing shorter podcasts, 15-minute podcasts. So I'm really excited. I'm Eva Wiens.
I'm Ben Boi-Doku, and together we're the Security Wonder Twins.
That's right. So today, what I wanted to do today is let's jump right into it since we only have 15 minutes. Let's start by taking a topic that I've been thinking about, which is answering the questions that people actually ask about AI at work. Uh, without all the jargon, the fear, the legal lecture, and also, the same way somebody would, let's say somebody's talking to you, Ben, at a pub, and he would ask you questions about how I should use AI at work and what are the things I can do from a security perspective, the things I should do, the things I shouldn't do, the things that might get me fired, all those kind of things. So, any initial thoughts, Ben, before we jump into the Q&A? Let's.
Absolutely. Though I go to pubs from time to time, I'm more of a cocktail lounge kind of guy.
That's right. That's right. I forgot about that. Well, they may be able to make you a terrible old fashioned at a pub. I've seen that. So let's get into it. So first question is like a really simple question, but is can I use AI at work?
Well, there's a few takes to it. Number one, you don't want to be giving out your information or information that you fully know is clearly a security violation. Other than that, if the company hasn't explained any AI rules clearly, you can't blame employees for getting it wrong. It's information just like any other technology. Yes, it may be easier for a data leak, but it doesn't mean that it's the only cause for a potential data leak.
Right. So then, if it's sort of a broad question, but there's so many different ways that people think about using AI at work, right? I can open a tab and I can go to ChatGPT and get it to write my email for me, or I can grab my phone and I can do it all on there, or I can have a little voice assistant kind of help me out with everyday tasks, right? There's a breadth of all that. What's okay and what's not okay? Right? I think that people want really that clarity. And how do I, as I like, let's say, I'm a regular office user. I've got a computer. I've got a thing. I work for a company. What are the things I need to watch for if I'm just working day to day?
At the end of the day, the simplest rule is if you wouldn't want the information released publicly, that's what I would gate before I put it into AI.
Right.
We're approaching times similar to the past where everyone had shadow IT, shadow clouds, shadow data storage, etc. You're not going to stop people from using AI. The individuals who want to use it, they want to use it for the productivity gains, to clean up their language, or to just make things a lot easier for them. So it's how do organizations enable those tools for individuals to use so it's not playing a game of catch up and people sneaking to the other side to use tools that are unsanctioned.
So even if my company hasn't said anything about it, IT hasn't blocked it. There are things I need to think about, right? There are things I need to worry about the same way I would with anything else, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I think about AI security rules, they exist because companies really inherently don't trust people, not necessarily because AI is uniquely dangerous. People assume AI is the problem, but if you look at it, the real risk is human behavior, whether it's copying and pasting too much, oversharing, or typing something very quickly, not necessarily noticing that that's something that they shouldn't be sharing with a system that's publicly available.
So I'd love to get your official perspective and your real thoughts on this, which is what do you think about when companies block use of AI internally? Let's say the company X blocks access to, let's say, ChatGPT or any other LLM.
I think it's going back to what I just mentioned in terms of not inherently trusting the individuals, and that's why they're blocking the services, because the individuals would be the ones to leak or put information that shouldn't be in there. um Blocking access to those sites will not stop people from using those sites. There was a time early in the, not necessarily early, but when AI wasn't as prevalent, where you could easily just take a picture of your information, upload it to the AI. It's going to do the OCR, understand everything that's in that image, and now you've leaked data anyways. So whether you block the site or not, you can't block people's mobile connections.
Right. It's and I agree with you. I think it's more of it's an education of what is the important data and how that should be used and what should be put into an AI, LLM or not, or even agent or however people are using AI in the workspace. Okay, that's great for the first question. Let's jump into the second one, which is I put this data out there. Who can see it, right? Like who can see this data that's in AI that I plop in, whether I plop in an email from work or, God forbid, my password or my banking details, or even day-to-day information, right? Like, uh, can my employer see what I tap into these LLMs?
Short answer, without a quote unquote tinfoil hat on, if you're using corporate systems, I would say you always have to be cognizant of the fact that those systems may be monitored, regardless of what you're using those systems for, whether it's email, Slack, Teams, AI, etc. If you're using a corporate system, you just have to assume that it's corporately monitored.
What about these big companies that are taking the data? What about Google, OpenAI? Can they see that data? I think it's pretty obvious.
One of my favorite quotes, and it really pertains to social media, but I'm extending it to AI as well. If if you access the product for free, at the end of the day, you're the product. Your data is the product. Whether they can specifically see what user X is putting in the system and extrapolating that data or not, you are the actual product. So I wouldn't give anything that I wouldn't want the world to know.
Yeah,
I
and
treat it very
I
similar
would
to
even
social media.
I would hazard even expand that sometimes even though you're paying, sometimes
Yeah,
you're also the
absolutely.
product, which is really tricky. Um, so what would you say are good guidelines for using let's say your organization has invested in an LLM internally and they're using that, be it Copilot or be it whatever, a Gemini or whatever they bought into, or even corporate versions of ChatGPT are out there, right? So
Mhm.
your company has invested in that, uh, but yet you still obviously have access to these other systems. Um, what would you say is best practices in terms of using two systems like that?
I'm not gonna say that I get it right.
Right,
I use the corporately sanctioned LLMs with corporate data.
right.
Any other LLM that I find advantages with, I use that for other things.
Yeah, it's a
So
it's it's a
I
real
like
smorgasbord out there, right? Like of what's better for this, what's better for that, and that changes like almost every day. So you can imagine as
absolutely.
somebody who's rewriting the policy, that would be a nightmare to write a policy say use this but not this, right?
And you never know which one pops up. I like using Claude. I like using ChatGPT. I like using Copilot. But that
Right.
doesn't stop me from saying, hey, DeepSeek is apparently faster. Let me go give that one a try.
Yeah. And
So
and
it's all about balance.
yeah. And one of the things that we've always had a challenge with in cybersecurity is, and it's a term, it's a buzzword that we use, and I don't want to bring in jargon, but DLP, right? And people be talking about data loss prevention, data loss protection. Um,
Mhm.
the people in charge of cybersecurity lose sleep over this stuff because they are really worried about the intellectual property of your organization or your financial details, all those other pieces. And that's the reason they put those things in place, right? That's why they say, hey, you can't go here, you can't do this. It's because either the powers that be it people in charge, or even the fact that they want to sleep at night, they are putting these things in place to protect you, right? So
So let me ask you a question.
sure,
As you're
please.
mentioning data loss prevention or data loss protection controls, if AI disappeared tomorrow, would data leaks stop?
No, no, data leaks been there forever, right? So you could, people have always said, hey, there's lots of controls, so you can't copy and paste from this thing into the other. And people might have seen some controls over their phone where they're, like apps are separated into different areas. But the reality is somebody could just grab their phone, take a picture or something and share it, right? Um, and that's why, like, when we talk to people in charge of cybersecurity, that's why they're so afraid of people's behavior, right? And I wouldn't say they're afraid of their behavior. Maybe that's too much of a strong word. They're concerned about the things they can't control. You can control technical things, but you can't really control what people do and what people click on. And that's why we see so much ransomware and those kind of things. So data loss prevention, DLP, is it's bigger than ever as a conversation, because I know and if we put stuff into an LLM, it can really help with synthesizing data, providing better writing, all those other areas, which can really be helpful. But also, really from a data loss prevention, there's a big fear there, and that's not even talking about the other side of it, which is if a company puts out a bot out there, the exposure that they would have from that, right? So, yeah,
And I
just
and I think that's from a company standpoint, that's what I would think of as more of a risk. The hallucinating facts, wrong answers, providing wrong recommendations just based off the information that's in the LLM. I think those are just as high of concerns as the human behavior piece. The human behavior piece is more challenging though because you can't control human behavior.
right. Um, let's do I think is a really interesting perspective, which is sort of bring it to practical terms. So I, watch. Let's say you're a person watching this, you're listening to this, and you go, you
Okay.
know what? I have put some data out there, Ben. Like I have done this. I obviously can't put it back in the box. Uh, but what would be your recommendation, right? Like let's say I'm the guy at the cocktail bar that says to you, you wouldn't believe the stuff I already put out there, Ben. What should I do?
That's a real good one because the real question is what can you do? That's number one. I think I think from a corporate responsibility perspective, you should let your corporate governance, compliance, or security team know the
Yep.
information that you have put into the system. So if there is a data leak, they're already aware of what data is in there, etc. That's my corporate answer. From a layman that's just enjoyed technology over the how many years or decades, I can't see what you can do to recall or extract your data from
Right.
any of these LLMs. The
I
LLMs
think,
get better because of the data they have access to train on. So now
yeah.
the data that you've provided it just made it better. Maybe
Yeah, I
worse
think,
for you, but better for
yeah.
it.
No, I'm with you. I think the recommendation I would give somebody is, let's say I 100% agree with the corporate side. I think you're absolutely right about that. On the personal side, start with a personal risk assessment, right? Like, think of was it banking information you put out there? Was it your banking password? Like, just go through those things and say, what was the risk of what I put out there, and how can I make sure that uh, you know whatever's there becomes old really fast, right? Make
Yeah.
sure that change things on one end to make sure that whatever you put out there doesn't have the same impact that it has today. Diminish the impact of it by making changes, which is not simple, but it's we do this every day. Like, that's when we think about us, when we think about our kids, when we think about our protecting things, we always think on a threat and risk assessment perspective. So, um, we're at the 14-minute mark, Ben. Any question? Do you have a question for me? Do you have a final thought you want to bring?
If I leave with a final thought or a final question, it's really just a statement and it goes to the fear of using AI as an individual. If you're afraid to try using AI, what advantages do you think you're not taking advantage of? Like when you weigh that risk versus reward, there's a lot of there's a lot of reward right now, and it gets better as days and weeks pass. It's not in months to years as these systems improve. They really improve quite quickly. What are you afraid of to take your first dip into the AI pool?
And I think, yeah, I love that thought because it really aligns to everything else that we need to think about when we're trying to protect data or thinking about data protection, which is go to your gut, and make the best decision you would with that data as if it was yours, right? Some of it is yours, uh, but protect that data as if it was yours, and as you want to protect it, whether it's personal or whether it's corporate. So I like that.
And I'd leave another thought as well.
Sure.
AI is not perfect. You're going to get wrong answers. You're going to get hallucinations. And the thing about these LLMs, they will provide you these with a confident tone. It
Yeah, I
will
mean,
sound like
Siri
it's
reminds me all the time, Ben, that, these
it
answers
will
are
it will
accurate.
tell you with the utmost confidence, even though it's wrong.
Right.
And if you check it for being wrong, it'll say, "You spotted a good one." And then it'll just continue like it never
Yeah,
made a mistake.
exactly.
So
Oh,
be
yeah,
very
exactly.
careful with the data that you receive from these LLMs as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's uh critical thinking and critical using of it, which I think expands to what we talk about from a cybersecurity perspective as well, right? You have to be critical of the answers it gives, but you also have to be critical and understand the data that you're putting into it, and how it and establishes it. So, um, this has been super fun, Ben. Thank you very much. I can't wait for us to do our next one, and stay tuned for more of these short CDW podcast Tech Talks.